Hey guys, before we start this video, I do have a few announcements. So as you can see, I now have a talksprite, but I haven't really done like most of the expressions because it's kind of hard. So if anyone would like to draw my talksprites, I'd be really happy. I could pay you if you want. And then the background video is credit to emiko ffujio. It's not mine, so I'll link it down below. And that's pretty much it. Okay, so apparently schools only care if your mental health affects your grades immediately, which is genuinely one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. Because I'm autistic, right? But I mask really hard, like scary hard, professionally, Olympic level masking. If masking was an AP class, I'd have college credit. And because I was getting decent grades at the beginning of the year, my 504 plan got denied. Their logic was basically, well, you're passing your classes, so you must be functioning fine. No. I was functioning like a raccoon trapped in an air fryer. I don't know, bro. Those are not the same thing. Like, schools see a quiet student getting assignments done and assume everything's okay because they're not screaming, throwing chairs, or failing math. But meanwhile, I was literally overstimulated every day, having shutdowns at home, unable to regulate emotions correctly, masking so hard I felt physically sick, unable to ask for help because I didn't want to seem dramatic, and nobody cared because my grades looked pretty enough on paper. Which is insane because autistic burnout is a real thing. You can only pretend to be neurotypical for so long before your brain basically blue screens. And that's exactly what happened to me. Towards the end of the year, I literally ended up hospitalized because my mental state got so bad. And then my grades dropped. And suddenly everyone was concerned. Which is so frustrating because it's like, you guys only cared once my suffering became inconvenient enough to show up statistically. That's such a broken system. Schools act like accommodations are rewards for failing instead of tools meant to prevent students from falling apart in the first place. Like, wow, thank you so much for waiting until I was actively deteriorating before believing me. Very efficient, amazing strategy, 10 out of 10. And the thing is, a lot of autistic people are good at hiding things, especially the quiet ones, especially the people-pleasing ones, especially the kids terrified of looking lazy or difficult. So teachers see someone sitting quietly and assume, oh, they're mature. Meanwhile, the student is internally experiencing psychological warfare because the fluorescent lights are buzzing and somebody keeps clicking a pen. And honestly, I think schools are way too obsessed with visible struggle. If you're suffering silently, nobody notices until you collapse. And then suddenly everyone acts shocked. Like, bro, I was showing signs for months. You only care about suffering once it affects attendance charts and GPA spreadsheets. Durr. And what makes it worse is that schools love talking about mental health until someone actually needs help in a way that's inconvenient. There's posters everywhere like, you matter, talk to someone, mental health awareness. Okay, cool, awesome, incredible, fantastic. So when I did try explaining that I was struggling, why did it suddenly become, well, your grades are okay, so, like, that's literally the problem? You guys only measure distress academically. If someone's still turning things in, nobody asks how much pain it took to do it. Nobody asks if they're sleeping. Nobody asks if they're dissociating during class. Nobody asks if they go home and immediately crash for 6 hours because pretending to function all day drained every ounce of energy out of them. And autistic masking is so normalized too. People praise you for it. Teachers are like, you're so mature. You're so well behaved. Meanwhile, you're studying human behavior like an alien trying to blend into society. Like, dude, I wasn't naturally calm. I was terrified of being perceived wrong. There's a difference. And I think people don't realize how damaging it is when neurodivergent kids only receive support after completely falling apart. Because then your brain starts associating help with destruction. Like, oh, so I only deserve support once I'm actively dying inside enough? Cool, awesome. Very healthy lesson to teach children. And after I got hospitalized, suddenly there were meetings. Suddenly there was concern. Suddenly people were asking if I needed accommodations, which honestly made me angry. Because where was that energy before everything got bad? Why do people wait until the quiet, gifted kid finally snaps before taking them seriously? Why do mentally ill and autistic students have to become cautionary tales before adults listen? And the worst part is, I know I'm not the only person this happened to. There are so many students carrying themselves through school entirely through anxiety and survival mode, and adults mistake survival for stability all the time. Those are not the same thing. Just because someone is surviving doesn't mean they're okay. Sometimes it just means they got really good at suffering quietly. And schools need to understand that prevention matters more than damage control. Because by the time the grades start dropping, by the time attendance tanks, by the time somebody finally breaks down publicly, the damage has already been done. You're not helping someone stay afloat at that point. You're watching them drown and finally acknowledging there's water.